Hello, everybody. Bill Hoy here with another presentation. Um, my website, willhoy.com. Title of this presentation, Americans, what are you afraid of? And really, I would extrapolate that to the entire world. What are you afraid of? But I say, Americans, what are you afraid of? Because we Americans are the last hope for the world. And we almost got it done for the world back in 1776 with the American Revolution. And unfortunately, I think that might have been our last chance. But as long as I got a fighting breath in me, I'm going to try to take another chance. And we Americans need to free ourselves, and then the entire world will be free, in a sense. So let's move on. Just one little note: don't got to be the lion. I'm not insinuating that people act like animals. What I'm saying is, we need to become lions, the king of the jungle. We need to become kings of our own jungle, our own selves. We need to become kings of ourselves. We Americans need to become kings of ourselves, where we rule ourselves and we rule no one else. And no one else has the right to rule us. That's the attitude we got to start getting no matter what. No matter what kind of ailments are out there that people are dying of, which this whole CV-19 thing is a scamdemic. But, no matter what's happening, we need to be kings of ourselves, kings of no one else, and allow no one to be a king of us. It takes courage. So let's move on. Once again, Bill Hoy. Americans, what are you afraid of? When are we going to realize that we are controlled by fear? Humans have primal fears that have been with us since, 100,000, 200,000 years ago. Humans have been around, I guess. We are most fearful of things we do not completely understand. We have deeply embedded, unresolved issues. It might be actually a typo there. Deeply embedded, unresolved issues from our childhood, which are exploited by the power structure. Once again, a power structure that only exists because we give it power. The controllers, only because we allow them to control us, have detailed knowledge of human psychology. The monetary system is a scarcity-based system designed to induce fear. All religions are designed to induce fear. Cultural religions, denominations, and sects induce fear, then promise a solution based on a savior or parental figure. We're going to cover these in more detail. Primal fears. What are human primal fears? Well, first I put the fear of darkness. This is not in any kind of order of severity or whatever. Fear of darkness. That comes from ancient times. That's what a lot of these religions are based on. The ancient roots of Christianity are sun worshippers. Are the roots of Christianity. They're sun worshippers. Jesus as the Son of God, S-U-N, of God, not S-O-N, S-U-N. God, the Creator's Son. And when that sun would come up, there would be life. Early humans, when the sun would go down, humans don't see well at night. And predators are able to get to humans. And darkness was deeply feared. Darkness was seen as death. That's what a lot of these religions where they come from. And look into the work of Jordan Maxwell. We'll talk more about that. But darkness, and that's where the whole Jesus is the Savior, the Son. The sun was the savior. The sun was what saved humans. When that sun would come up, life would return. The predators would go away and hide, and humans were able to, for the most part, at least able to see if there was danger. Whereas when the darkness, the humans couldn't even see the danger. And think about how that fear of darkness comes to us now. You know, when your lights go out during a storm, you get that initial scared feeling in you. That's that fear, that's that deep embedded primal fear of darkness. And there's isolation. And isolation, fear of being alone. Watch The Twilight Zone. Rod Serling focused a lot of his Twilight Zone episodes on these primal fears, isolation. I think it was the episode where the astronaut did some kind of experiment where he isolated himself in a capsule for I don't know how long. I think like a couple weeks or something, and he was having dreams and nightmares, and he went nuts. Fear of isolation. You know, that fear, these fears haunt us still today. Fear of being alone. Fear of abandonment. You know, being abandoned by a parental protective figure. Deeply embedded in us. I think there's a lot to talk about with this abandonment. I personally think that humans as a species were abandoned in some way. Because you look at how animals, when, they're born, parents take care of them, but then eventually the animal, in not too long of time, is able to do the things it needs to do on its own, and it goes off on its own. It doesn't need that parental figure, whereas humans, for some reason, continue to need some kind of parental figure. And once again, I think a lot of that's conditioned in us. And I think if we took a deep look at our abandonment issues and faced them and moved on from them, I think we can move on from the abandonment issues. I don't think it's something that's just automatic. I don't think it's human nature. I think it's a human primal fear that's embedded deep in us from hundreds of thousands of years, tens of thousands of years. But it's not something we can't condition out of ourselves. We can face it, and we can move on from it, and I'll talk about that in the solution. But yeah, I think humans, for some reason, it's embedded in us that we need some kind of parental figure. And of course, this fact is not disclosed to us, and the controllers that control the world use that to control us. We don't know and realize that we have a fear of abandonment, so we can't face it. And then there's predators. I mean, folks, I'll tell you right now, I could do a whole hourly, easily, even more, multi-hourly series just on this slide. So I'm really going through this pretty quickly. I'm just starting to touch on this stuff. And there's fear of predators. And then once again, going back to abandonment isolation applies to today, fear of isolation. I can't think of it really off the top of my head, but I'm sure I'll probably think about it as soon as I'm way on another slide. But fear of abandonment plays into today, all these connections to politics and religions and stuff like that. And now we're at predators, fear of predators, and that plays into today, definitely. The fear of terrorists, the fear of viruses, and all that stuff. We're going to talk about all this. But fear of predators. And that just really, that says it all for itself. That's what happened. Human beings were, not at the top of the food chain for years. There were animals that could kill us, still are, as long, if we don't have a firearm. But fear of predators is a big one, and that applies to today. And these are all basic primal fears. Move on. We're afraid of things we do not understand. And once again, this goes into the whole idea of that we human beings are a conditionable species. If we start to understand these things, if we start to understand what our primal fears are, if we start to understand what exactly we're afraid of, we can start to work ourselves out of it, and we can grow up. But we're afraid of things we don't understand. We don't even know about these primal fears, don't even know we have them. And then we fear supposed enemies that we feel helpless to fight against. We're inundated with fears of viruses, contagions, diseases, and other physical and psychological ailments. And then there's that parasite stress theory, which has recently been focused on and manipulated and taken advantage of. People are afraid of these viruses. And this whole scamdemic is an absolute scam. And I'm not saying that there isn't some ailment out there, or maybe multiple ailments. What I'm saying is they have not identified a complete composite, from what I've seen, of what this actual virus they're saying CV19 is. And I think that's because they don't want to completely disclose what it is, because this virus, as far as I'm concerned, look it up, Gain of Functions Research, National Institute of Health, Anthony Fauci, it was made in a lab. We live in fear of attacks from Islamic terrorists, North Koreans, Iranians, and Russians. And once again, I'm trying to cover a lot of the fears of both sides of the dialectic here. Both sides of the political dialectic. I think I'll cover that when I go through all of them. We're afraid of socialism taking over. We're afraid of corporate fascism taking over. We fear environmental destruction. We're afraid of not being able to survive or maintain a certain lifestyle. Now, let's go over the dialectics and a little bit of these fears. It's common across the board that we fear what we feel helpless to fight against. Across the board, I say, inundated with fears of viruses. Now, I think now I'll talk about both sides of the political dialectic. These people that are into this political dialectic, the religions of the liberals and conservatives. These people all running out to vote for their favorite proxy parent. I think both the left and the right are fearful of Islamic terrorists. More of the right is fearful of the North Koreans and the Iranians, and the left is fearful of the Russians. And once again, I'll get to the solution of all this. Now, mostly the left, I would say, is afraid. The right side of the dialectic is afraid of socialism taking over. And folks, I hate to tell you, but the United States has been a socialist country for a very long time, not as aggressively socialist and identifyingly socialist as China, but all government is socialism, folks. All government is socialism. Even the limited government and the founding fathers, all government is socialism. All government is socialism, folks. We already are socialists. Public schools are socialist, one example. And then we're afraid of corporate fascism taking over. That's a fear of the left, primarily. I knew a friend who was a leftist, and as soon as Trump got elected, oh, we're a fascist country now. Dude, hate to break it to you, been a fascist country for a very long time. Folks, all these fears of what we're going to become, we already are. We fear environmental destruction. That's a main one for the left. That's a main one for the left. And I'm not saying that the whole, I mean, let me tell you something, folks. Our life support systems, anyone who thinks that we humans and all the activities that we're doing on this planet aren't destroying our life support systems, you need to go back to the drawing board. Okay? And I understand the right is, when it comes to this, is very fearful of Agenda 21 naturally. Agenda 21 is real. And Agenda 21 is using the destruction of our life support systems as a reason for their, I'll say, communist ideals. And we definitely need to not want to have anything to do with an Agenda 21. But that doesn't mean our life support systems aren't being destroyed. And then, all these people on the left who are fearing environmental destruction sure aren't aligning their lives with their concerns. They're all contributing to it. And then, of course, this is pretty much everybody afraid of not being able to survive or maintain a certain lifestyle. That's everybody. That's the monetary system. We're going to talk about that. Unresolved psychological issues. Here I am. This is me. 25 years ago. Boy, was I a mangled individual. My parents, my mother especially, psychologically annihilated me. I wasn't molested or viciously beaten or any stuff like that, but I was absolutely psychologically abused big time by my mother, who has huge unresolved issues of her own, which I'm trying to push her to resolve these issues, and she's being very resistant. So we have fears embedded in our unconscious minds that come from unresolved issues in childhood. With my mother, I'm trying to get her to, Mom, go back to, go back to your childhood. What happened to you? She doesn't want to. We have not truly matured into psychological adulthood. Definitely my mother, as well as used to be myself here in this picture. I was 23 years old and definitely not an adult. I was still a child, very damaged individual. I've said this in my death cult videos. Anyone who joins the military is a damaged individual and was not raised properly. Humans are not conscious adults. We are scared little children, and that's absolutely the truth. We still need parental figures in our lives to alleviate our fears that the proxy parents, politicians, portray themselves as. Grown adults still needing parental figures. That abandonment. That abandonment. That isolation. All those primal fears. Then individuals in the police and military especially are some of the most severely developmentally arrested. No pun intended there. Arrested meaning didn't develop, are stuck in certain stages of development. Politicians never grew up as well, like big babies. That's what these leaders are. They're big babies. That's what these governors are. They're big babies, and the babies who follow their orders are worse babies. People who follow their orders are worse babies than the babies that give the orders, by far and away. And it was me. I was severely developmentally arrested development. It's a shame. It's a shame. Just wanted so bad for somebody to just tell me that I'm good. Pat me on the back. Moving on. Monetary system and other religions. Monetary system is based on scarcity. The system is run by international bankers who print money for governments, and taxpayers pay for it twice. Folks, when are we going to wise up about taxation? Taxation is robbery, and taxation is part of the whole destruction of the value of the dollar. My taxes keep going up. All taxes keep going up. Folks, that's not natural. There's nothing natural about that. It's a devaluing of our currency. The monetary system is designed to be a proxy motherly figure. Mommy will take care of you. That's what that monetary system is. And that's a big fear in people. That big fear of abandonment from the monetary system, that mommy's going to abandon me. Oh no. I'm not going to have my mommy to take care of me. That's what that monetary system is. That's how they use that. This monetary system is used to completely control us. And I'm not even talking about people who are like, greedy or overly greedy. I'm talking about your average Joes. I'm talking about your average Joe allowing his place of employment to tell him what he can and cannot do in his own home, and accepting that as, oh, well, I gotta make money to provide for my kids. That's what a good parent does. You're not a true grown-up. You're not a true man. You're not a man. I know, I was there. I used to work for the casinos in Atlantic City and the Harrah's Company casinos at the Showboat. They had us having to go to classes and take blood pressure tests and stuff. And if we scored over a certain blood pressure, we would have to take classes, or we would lose our benefits and all that kind of stuff, dictating to us what we do in our own lives, poking into our private lives. I know, I've been there. Money is a religion. Government is a religion. That monetary system. And folks, look, I think we could have a monetary system that's based in true value. But we got to change our own minds of what we think is valuable. Freedom, air, soil, and water, that's valuable. Not diamonds. Not a football jersey of your favorite football team. not a ticket to a football game. Yeah, money's a religion, government's a religion. All cultural religions are human-invented constructs of control. All churches are human-created institutions. These constructs foment dogmatic teachings, purport allegories and metaphors as concrete evidence, and use fear to control people and extort them for money. God always needs money, doesn't he? He. How about that? There is no he. The Creator is just is. The Creator is the Almighty. You know, that whole idea of borrowing of Zeus, you know, looking like Santa Claus, God looking like Santa Claus, like Zeus. Allegories, metaphors, Jesus walking over water, the Son of God walking over water. It's the sun at sunrise, folks. That's all it is. Using fear to control people. Oh, you better be, better acknowledge Christ as your Savior, or you're going to go to hell. You're going to burn in hell. Burn in hell, huh? A spirit burning in hell? I think that's worth a little bit of questioning. Can you burn a spirit? I think that's worth looking into. Once again, people don't even question this stuff. They just blindly follow it. Once again, why? Because of fear. And look, I'm not saying if you find something valuable and you want to donate money to it, that's fine. But somehow these people, all they do is just live off people and suck off people. Religion's the biggest scam out there, folks. What we need to start doing is learning the truth about our history and learning the truth about natural law. And start aligning. The whole Christ story is a story of natural law, and start aligning our behaviors to that story. When we begin to understand and live in accordance with natural law, we start to find solutions to our problems of fear. We need to understand and accept that we are naturally fearful and not let our fears dominate us. When we do this, others will not be able to control us. We need to become courageous and align our behaviors with what we say we want. We need to know that the most important things in life are our ability to exercise our free will morally and the maintenance of our life support systems. More important than money, our freedom and our environment come before our health, safety, and life. We need to mature to full psychological adulthood and realize that there's no such thing as a savior, and we do not need parents to care for us our entire lives. I'd say that sums it up. And I'm going to put this presentation out as a first overview, and then I'm also a lot of what I'm going to do with my major presentations is I put my presentation out and then I follow it up with some hourly audio slides covering each slide, and that's probably what I'll do with this as well. Because as soon as I got into this, I started realizing that I could talk about this for about 8 hours. So I'll leave it at this for the first presentation. Please don't believe anything I say. Look into it for yourself. A lot of good information out there. All this information's out there, folks. All this information's out there. All we have to do is access it. It's all out there. Let me tell you something. Looking at Jordan Maxwell, he started looking into all this stuff back in 1960. and he was finding information. He didn't even have an internet to go to or anything, and he was finding all this information. All this information's out there. We just have to access it and stop watching the garbage television and the garbage mainstream media. That's all. More to come.